Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Mandarin, please. 议长先生，我同意动议中提到的多项事项，包括不让任何的员工在人工智能的变革中掉队。不过，要实现这个愿景，就需要我们分享采用人工智能科技后所带来的红利，以及确保未来世代的员工能够继续保持优势和竞争力。目前，在采用科技提高生产力后，雇主往往是获益的那一方。我建议通过将灵活工作安排指导原则升级为具有约束力的政策，确保员工也能享受该福利。人工智能提高生产力和工作效率之后，我们就应当允许员工将所腾出来的时间用来陪伴家人、休息，或者是去参加各项活动，与其他的人建立关系和友谊。此外，未来世代的劳动队伍也正是我们现在在校园里的学生。如今也开始接触人工智能了。有家长提出担忧，小学4年级接触人工智能会不会有些早呢？也有神经科学专家指出，过早或者过多的使用人工智能等不同的科技，可能会将学习变得太容易，因而导致孩子失去建立深入学习的能力和机会。孩子在成长阶段正需要的就是深入学习以及思考能力，不断地发问并做出判断。我因此呼吁政府追踪并定期地向国人报告我国校园采用人工智能科技之后，对不同年龄层的学生的认知能力以及发展所带来的影响。在人工智能的时代，独立思考和判断才是人工智能无法取代的技能，这正是我们应该传授给下一代的。确保他们无论未来世界变化如何，都可以保持优势和竞争力。Mr. Speaker, I share the values outlined in the motion, that growth must be inclusive, that every worker matters, and that no one should be left behind in the AI transition. Ensuring that no one is left behind involves more than just ensuring job-full growth. It requires a commitment to sharing the rewards of AI-driven productivity. It also requires that we ensure that future generations of workers can thrive in an era defined by AI and possibly other technologies that have not yet been invented. Now, Mr. Speaker, much of the discourse about AI-driven economic transition has been focused on the need for workers to upskill and remain relevant. While these efforts are essential, they do not answer another equally important question. How do we ensure that the equitable distribution of the AI productivity dividend? Presently, employers are the default beneficiaries. They benefit from either more output from the same headcount or the same output from a lower headcount. Such productivity gains do not automatically become employee gains. Without deliberate policy design, they tend to remain exclusively employer gains. Now, one way to share the AI productivity dividend with workers could be through time. During the MOM Committee of Supply debate in March, I made a case for flexible work arrangements to be given legislative force. The right to request flexible work is not the same as the right to have it. We should not rely on guidelines that place the burden of action on the employee who can least afford to do so. I would like to reiterate the call for flexible work legislation today. It has become more salient as we discuss how the AI transition can benefit Singaporeans. As AI generates real productivity gains, the question of whether Singaporean workers will share in these gains as time regained, not just as higher output, is one which the market will not answer on its own. It must be designed for. What does more time mean in practice? It means a parent who can be present and do more than just paying for tuition classes. It means fewer caregivers having to choose between a job and a family member who needs them. It also means rest. Real rest, in a country where 61% of employees feel exhausted and 39% of workers dread going to work. These are not soft outcomes. They are conditions under which human capabilities are replenished and sustained. Will the government and tripartite movement commit to prioritizing worker well-being alongside employer gains and economic growth as it shapes AI-era policy? If so, I urge the government to begin by giving legislative teeth to flexible work arrangements. As AI makes company more productive, workers should have a meaningful and enforceable claim on the time that AI frees up. Time to rest and to pursue the kind of human connection that AI cannot replicate, and that our fertility rate is telling us we are running short of. Mr. Speaker, I now want to turn to a group of Singaporeans who matter most to our long-term success. If we say that every worker matters, then we must look at the workers who are not yet in the workforce. And I am talking about our children who are in today's classrooms and some of them in the aisle above. Right now, our 10-year-olds in Primary 4 are being introduced to AI tools. While there is, of course, teacher supervision and guardrails in place, we should also be asking a more fundamental question. Is this early exposure building their capability and ability to thrive in an AI world, or is it building an early dependence on AI-powered tools? Some parents are already asking, is P4 too early? What are the real gains? And more importantly, what are the trade-offs? These are not just parental anxieties. There are also serious questions being asked by neuroscientists. In his book, The Digital Delusion, neuroscientist Dr. Jared Horvath makes a point that should give us pause. When technology makes thinking too easy, the depth of learning disappears. AI is the ultimate offloading tool. It reads, writes, and calculates with minimal user input. But our children are not yet experts looking to offload and increase productivity. They are learners, and learning requires struggle. It requires the cognitive friction that AI is designed to remove. If our children start to offload their thinking at age 10, they do not develop the mental muscles needed to spot errors, ask meaningful questions, or form independent views. What we call AI-enabled personalized learning then risks becoming customized comfort. It feels like progress because it is frictionless, but it may be short-circuiting the cognitive development we are trying to support. This brings me to a concern that I raised earlier today, the equity paradox in AI use. I appreciate Minister Desmond Lee's point about how MOE actively engages parents through Parents Gateway and share guidance on how they can better support their children at home. But not every child in Singapore has a parent at home who is digitally engaged, has the time to act on that guidance, and is equipped to scaffold their children's learning beyond what happens in the classroom. Children from less privileged backgrounds with less access to parental guidance and fewer non-screen enrichment activities may end up leaning on AI more heavily and not less. For a child who comes home to an overstretched household, where there is no one to redirect, question, or supervise, AI will always produce an answer, always reduce the friction, and always make the thinking easier. That is not empowerment. If AI dependency erodes cognitive development that it is meant to supplement, then the children most at risk are the ones that we are trying our hardest to support. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, Associate Professor Jamus Lim, noted during the recent budget debate that the gap between stronger and weaker university students is no longer about what they submit in written assignment, but about their willingness to question and think beyond the script. Now, these abilities are built, or not built, over years. If we displace that effort at age 10, our children cannot simply download it at university. And if the children who are doing the most unsupervised AI offloading are those who already have less of these abilities, then we are not closing the gap. We are widening it. Earlier, a global study published this January by the Brookings Institution found that the biggest risk of AI in education is the displacement of effortful thinking during crucial development years. Interestingly, 65% of the students surveyed in this study cited the undermining of cognitive development as the top risk of the use of AI. The children themselves can feel the difference. Mr. Speaker, I am not suggesting that we do not use AI tools in school. I am suggesting that we follow the evidence, not the hype. Generative AI has been public for barely 4 years. We do not yet have long-term data on how it affects a child's brain. We should not let the speed of a technology cycle outpace the care that our children deserve. I also appreciate the Minister's update this morning that the Singapore Longitudinal Early Development Study, or SG-LEADS, by A*STAR, will expand to collect data that will help us understand Singapore children's AI usage patterns and how AI usage affects their learning and well-being outcomes. I hope this will also include the impact of using AI tools in education on our children's cognitive development, including their effect on their executive function and skills like critical thinking, reading comprehension, and capacity for sustained, independent effort. We must ensure that we are preparing our children for a world we cannot predict, by giving them the one tool that will always be relevant, a strong and independent mind. This motion rightly calls for Singapore's approach to AI-enabled growth to be anchored in fairness, resilience, and opportunity for all. I agree. And this is why I spoke today about two critical things that the AI transition is challenging us to protect: time and mind. For the workers of today, we should legislate the right to flexible work so that productivity gains are reclaimed as time for rest, care, and connection. And for our children, the workers of the future, we must protect the cognitive friction necessary for learning, ensuring that we are cultivating independent minds that can solve a hard problem without reaching for a digital crutch. The AI transition is not just an economic event. It is perhaps the most significant opportunity in a generation for us to ask what kind of society we will build with the time and capability that technology returns to us. Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.